We're about news, commentary, conversations, truth, liberty, and God. We stand for American values and our flag. We believe that the Constitution is a document that fortifies rights already given to us by our Creator. We will not apologize for our love of God and country, ever. We are Right America Media.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am starting to think the Democrats don't actually give a damn about protecting or defending democracy. I'm starting to think that when they say they're defending democracy, they actually mean they're trying to destroy democracy, that they don't actually believe in democracy at all. Am I getting this right? Oh boy, this is going to be a fun day, folks. The Epstein stuff is blowing up in the Democrats' face. I mean, there are plenty of shortcomings in the GOP. There are plenty of things always to criticize in politics, even especially perhaps within the Republican Party. But I gotta say, I am so encouraged because despite any of the failures or shortcomings of the Republican Party, even of this Trump administration right now, it doesn't come close, folks. It pales in comparison to the epic stupidity, colossal stupidity of the Democrat Party itself. This is a big show today, lots to cover. We're going to talk about Nick Fuentes and his vision for America. Many of you probably don't even know who Nick Fuentes is. He's a guy who loves Hitler and Stalin, and he fancies himself the future of politics in America. He is going to supplant MAGA with America first, America only, and we will talk about what that really means. It doesn't really mean America first at all. But anyway, so you've got six sick Democrats who are openly calling for treason. Now, this would not be the first time. I will play the clip in a minute. 6 Democrats who are calling for military personnel to defy orders from the Trump administration because they don't like Trump. The Democrats out there, they hate Trump so much, and that gives them the right, they believe, to break any law. It gives them the right to undermine our democracy. It gives them the right to assassinate Charlie Kirk. This is your Democrat Party today. So before I play this clip of these 6 sick Democrats calling for military personnel to defy Donald Trump, I just want to take a trip down memory lane. Because this isn't the first time Democrats have openly tried to undermine our democracy. It's simply the latest iteration. Trump-Russia collusion 2016. The Clinton hoax that Obama helped turn into an actual coup. Without a shred of evidence, knowing, in fact, that there was no Trump-Russia collusion, they foisted this hoax on the American people. Even when the FBI knew with absolute certainty that there was no proof whatsoever, and you have to remember the FBI was in on this. They knew all along that this was a Clinton plan to get Trump during the election, to help Hillary Clinton overcome her shortcomings as a candidate and defeat Donald Trump, who was running a far better campaign. Even after all of that, Obama ordered the ICA, an intelligence community assessment, to give a formal stamp of approval from his administration, from the government. After Trump won the election, by the way, after Trump won the election and the Clinton hoax failed, then Trump turned it into a coup, ordered the ICA, and they lied. The intelligence community lied to set up Donald Trump to be impeached. Now, the impeachment over Trump-Russia collusion did not come, but they tried to impeach him on other things. So that was a soft coup. You'll never forget, of course, when Donald Trump came into office, you had Mark Milley, right, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He had a phone call with his Chinese counterpart and told them that if Donald Trump ordered any kind of attack on China, he would give them advance notice. That is treason. And I hope Marjorie Taylor Greene is listening to treason, what treason is. She's in deep need of understanding many things these days. I'll get to her a little bit later. But in the Trump administration, you had Democrats, never Trumpers. You had an army of bureaucrats that were slow walking orders. They were leaking. You had federal employees that were vowing to obstruct Trump's agenda, all to protect democracy, don't you know? They impeached Donald Trump over a phone call, and you won't believe what I have to play for in a little bit. Jamie Raskin, Democrats, who is now singing a different tune as it relates to Congress pronoun Plaskett, who was texting Jeffrey Epstein, convicted pedophile, during a hearing in February 2019 to try and get Trump. You just can't make this stuff up, folks. You know, as long as you are armed with all these facts and truth, the Democrats can never get the one up on you. They just can't do it. They just can't do it. I mean, they are, for everything they push and say, there is ample, abundant opportunity to shove the hypocrisy in their faces. And you had Nancy Pelosi. I don't know if people remember this. Nancy Pelosi, she contacted Mark Milley, who is guilty of treason. She contacted Mark Milley, the chairman of the Joint Chief of Staff, the individual who called his Chinese counterpart and said, I'll give you a heads up if Trump moves on China. Well, she called that same traitor to discuss precautions to prevent Trump from accessing nuclear launch codes. Wow, these people really believe in the separation of powers. Don't they really believe in the Constitution? Look at it. Look how they prove themselves. Adherence to the Constitution, adherence to American democracy, supporters and defenders of our republic. So I want to play this clip of these 6 sick Democrats for you now. Watch this.
I'm Senator Alyssa Slotkin.
Senator Mark Kelly.
Representative Chris Deluzio.
Congresswoman Maggie Goodlander.
Representative Chrissy Houlihan.
Congressman Jason Crow. I was a captain in the United States Navy.
Former CIA officer.
Former Navy.
Former paratrooper and Army Ranger.
Former intelligence officer.
Former Air Force.
We want to speak directly to members of the military
And the intelligence community.
Who take risks each day
To keep Americans safe.
We know you are under enormous stress and pressure right now.
Americans trust their military.
But that trust is at risk.
This administration is pitting our uniformed military,
And intelligence community professionals.
against American citizens.
like us. You all swore an oath.
To protect and defend this Constitution.
Right now, the threats to our Constitution aren't just coming from abroad.
But from right here at home.
Our laws are clear. You can refuse illegal orders.
You can refuse illegal orders.
You must refuse illegal orders.
No one has to carry out orders that violate the law.
Or our Constitution.
We know this is hard.
And that it's a difficult time to be a public servant.
But whether you're serving in the CIA,
In the Army,
Our Navy,
The Air Force.
Your vigilance is critical.
and know that we have your back.
because now, more than ever,
The American people need you.
We need you to stand up for our laws.
our Constitution,
And who we are as Americans. Don't give up.
don't give up.
don't give up.
Don't give up the ship.
Oh, it's just so heartwarming, these Democrats. Don't they just warm your heart? Don't they just encourage you? It's really an incredible thing, folks. Now, notice they talk about illegal orders. What they mean is any order that they falsely deem illegal. Remember, this is the political party, the Democrat Party, that spent 4 years calling Trump an illegitimate president. He's illegitimate. Therefore, everything he says is illegal. You don't have to comply with the Constitution if it's in the hands of this illegitimate president. It's astonishing where we are as a nation. It's astonishing how brazenly the Democrats are willing to expose themselves like this. How jubilous they are. How they genuinely think that they are righteous in their opposition to the Constitution. You know, it was the Biden administration that labeled our founding documents dangerous. It's just amazing. And Donald Trump is saying, you know, this is treason. Treason is punishable by death. And the left, they're losing their minds over this. Now, of course, Trump is correct. That is the penalty for treason. But in the Democrats' minds, they're incapable of committing treason. And this is something that you must understand about why the left is dangerous and why they behave and believe the things that they do. And it's because they believe and they preach to their constituents out there, their base, right? They're all the oppressed. And you and me, we are the oppressor. They are victimized constantly. And therefore, you and I, those who believe in fidelity to the actual Constitution, who love this country, who believe in the founding, you know, we can never pay for our sins. We are perpetually guilty. And in this structure they've created, because they deem themselves the oppressed class, there is no wrong they can commit, and there is no right we can do. This is the worldview of the left. Those on the right are guilty of some generic sin, and therefore we must atone, live our lives in perpetual atonement. And the Democrats and people who pledge their allegiance to the left in this country, they can't be faulted for anything. Two different rules. Now, I don't know if you've heard about this. I'm sure you have, folks. But the Clintons, that'd be Hillary and Bill Clinton. You know, Bill Clinton, who was a big pal of Epstein. Bill Clinton, who went on, he really enjoyed taking those vacations to Epstein Island. He flew on the plane many, many, many times. And of course, during the Clinton administration, Epstein visited the White House, I believe it was 17 times. Now, I would remind you that the bulk of Epstein's crimes took place in the 80s. It took place in the 90s. And of course, it ended sometime in the early-ish 2000s when he was caught, got off with a slap on the wrist, of course. But this was happening during the Clinton administration. Clinton was president in the 90s, right, folks? And he was visiting the Clinton White House 17 times. I wonder if he and Monica Lewinsky and Epstein ever had a meeting together underneath the table, the resolute desk in the White House. Drew, you can't say that. That's terrible. So anyway, there they are. Now, I want to play, I really want to educate and inform people today. I want to spend a little bit of time on, yes, the Epstein stuff. Some of you are going to get really upset with me about the Epstein stuff. I accept it. And it's because if you've been listening to this show for any amount of time, look, I really do. I mean this sincerely. I am not a sensationalist. I'm not looking to stir up controversy for clicks and views. I totally reject that. There's a lot of that happening out there. That's fine. People can do it. People watch it. But I'm very sensitive to this moment in our country right now because I don't know if you get this feeling and sensation, but there's a lot of poison out there. And it's very enticing, you know? And I don't dismiss the reason it is proliferating, and that's because we have been lied to and betrayed for so long by our politicians and by our governments. COVID being one of the most major ones in any American's life right now, that great betrayal and cover up and lie. And there's never been accountability for anything. And of course, so many of the conspiracy theories that, we have peddled, like about COVID coming from the Wuhan lab of virology, that Fauci and our government were involved in creating that virus, the shutdown and the lies about the masking and everything else. I mean, this did a number on all of our brains. And we were censored, we were silenced, we were attacked for telling the truth. And of course, conspiracy theories are nothing more than an effort by you or me or any individual to answer questions and fill in the blanks because there is an obvious black hole of information, because there is an obvious lack of truth. And so we seek to find that truth and fill that gap. But not everything is a conspiracy theory. Not everything's a conspiracy theory. And this is what you have to guard yourself against. I have to guard myself against. We all have to do this together. We have to follow facts. We have to follow truth. We can't just live in a constant state of conspiracy theory. That doesn't lead to the truth. That goes down a rabbit hole where one lie leads to another and another and another. So I want to say that. Now, look, people get mad at me because I'm honest about the Epstein stuff. And what I mean by that is, for example, when Trump came out and called the Epstein stuff a hoax, I tried to explain to people who were understandably upset, but they didn't understand what he was saying. I've tried to explain from the beginning that, the Democrats have no interest in getting justice for the victims of Epstein. They have no interest in actually going after the people who were involved in an illicit way in doing wrong as it related to Epstein. That was never the interest of the Democrats. They were not interested in this ever until yesterday. And they want to use Epstein to undermine this Trump administration. Epstein for them, so when Trump says it's an Epstein hoax, he's talking about like the Trump-Russia collusion hoax, where for 4 years and even longer, Democrats accused Donald Trump of colluding with Vladimir Putin to steal the 2016 election. And then we had to spend all this time with the Mueller investigation and everything else. They planted false information. They used the Steele dossier, salacious, uncorroborated claims that they made up out of thin air. Donald Trump went to the suite in Moscow with the Ritz-Carlton or whatever it was, and he peed on or was peed on by a bunch of hookers because it was Obama's room and he was really going to get Obama, plus he's a sick pervert. And none of that ever happened. But we spent how long chasing this? We spent how many years just going after Trump on Trump-Russia collusion because we bought the left's lie and Republicans were too cowardly to confront it. That's what Trump was talking about. They want to use Epstein to make that Trump-Russia collusion right now, to investigate not the victim, not the people who are guilty of something, not to get justice for the victims. They just want to make it about Trump, even though we know anyone with two brain cells to rub together knows that Donald Trump didn't do anything wrong as it related to Epstein. And you've got all of these Democrats, and Epstein, horrible person, knew everyone. Media members came to his houses. Democrat politicians came to his houses. He funded Democrats exclusively. He was pals with Bill Clinton. And as you'll hear in a minute, the minority speaker of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, after it was known that he was a pedophile, that Epstein was a pedophile, he went asking for money and donations for his political campaign and career. Okay? So that's the point in all this, but they want to make this about what? Trump, 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 Trump. Investigate Trump. Selectively leak documents. You know, they leaked one document, the Democrats, and this is why this is so dangerous. They leaked one document, you know, that said something about Trump. It had nothing to do with sleeping with girls or whatever else. And they redacted, the Democrats redacted the name on the email because the victim on the email that was communicating about this was Virginia Giuffre, who had herself, before she died, she came out and said that Trump wasn't involved in any of this. So they didn't want her name on there because if you saw Virginia Giuffre, you would know for a fact that she wasn't accusing Donald Trump of anything. And there's no Epstein list. This is what I've tried to explain to you. There's no list. You know, there's no Al Capone's vault. You know, Capone's vault. You remember this with Geraldo Rivera? I played this on the show a while back, but Geraldo Rivera, you know, he got a bunch of people, production companies and things to fund and televise this big event. You know, he discovered a vault beneath some hotel or something like that in Chicago. And it was going to be this big reveal. He got in there. They blew it open with dynamite, with explosives. And he went in there and he was going to find, that was where the bodies were buried, right? Capone's vault. He's going to find where the bodies are buried. And he went in there and there was a bunch of dust, maybe a Dorito bag or something like that. It was humiliating. So that's what people are kind of expecting with the Epstein stuff. Oh, there's some list in the vault beneath the White House and it has all the names on it that have been covered. That's not it. Now, I'm not saying that there hasn't been justice. I'm not saying that there's been an effort to protect the powerful, the elite in all of this. There absolutely has. There absolutely has. But you have to also negotiate in your mind how this is being used. And you have to be realistic about what you're actually going to get from this. And look, no doubt the Trump administration officials, they brought much of this upon themselves. They're not innocent in terms of the disaster that has become, you know, this slow release and this. I mean, there's a reason people are conspiracy theorists right now. There's a reason people are outraged about the Epstein stuff. It's because they were misled. You have to, you know, underpromise and overdeliver. And the Trump administration and Pam Bondi, they overpromised and now they're underdelivering. You know, and it's easy to talk about this stuff when you're running for office. Oh, yeah, we'll release this and that without thinking it through. There's no list. There's grand jury testimony. You know, there's so I mean, what is the outcome here that's going to happen, right? So they release every document pertaining to Epstein. And then you get these retards like Ian Carroll out there, you know, who really, I mean, he should still be an Uber driver, but that was his career, I believe. And these reprobates who are, their whole shows are based on conspiracy. You know, even Candace Owens now. Ooh, you know, the Egyptian planes, you know, blah, blah. Oh, well, I got the timestamp wrong, but still they're following, you know. You get this type of talk. So you get all these documents, here they're released, and these people are going to go out there and make it whatever they want. And the average person's not going to have time to go through all these documents. The media is not going to be honest about these. You're already seeing what this is doing, what's happening. You know, these documents are available now. Many had been released, but the Democrats got hold of them, and what do? They tried to hide what they did and make it all about Trump. So it's more of a caution, folks. I mean, just kind of a reality check. And I don't know. I mean, this is going to make some of you mad, but you know what's more important to you in the country right now? Honest question. I'm not trying to inflame, or I'm not trying to say, you know, I'm not trying to criticize. I'm certainly not trying to make anyone feel like they're wrong to have their feelings about the app. That's not my intention, but just honestly, what's more important and relevant? You know, is it COVID and getting the truth about COVID and what Fauci and what the CIA and what they did to this country to shut it down? That harmed tens of millions of Americans. Many people still haven't gotten their businesses back because of that. Our children are going to be harmed for many, many years to come. And this isn't even being addressed about the trauma, about the impact on their social behavior and social skills because we robbed them of a year or more of their lives at an important moment in their development. We don't have answers about that. Is Epstein more important than getting to the bottom of that, investigating that? Is it more important than accountability for Trump-Russia collusion? For the cabal of people, including the President of the United States, Obama at the time, the Clintons, Mark Elias, Fusion GPS. I mean, I could go down the list of bureaucrats and FBI agents, Comey, all these people. Is it more important than accountability for the coup that happened in our lifetime not that long ago? You know, is the Epstein stuff worth more of our time and this administration's time than deporting the 10 million plus illegals who have come to this country? Violent criminals? Is it more important than fixing the economy? Is it more important than other legislation that's required to fulfill the promises of the Trump administration? Those are all the questions I'm asking. But, you know, to elevate Epstein to the level it's at, I just don't think it's rational. I think it's fueled by emotion. And I think that emotion is being manipulated by Republicans and Democrats is all I'm saying. But let's get into some of this stuff. So, Plaskett, what's her name? I'll find it in a minute when I play the clip. I mean, I don't pay attention to some of these people. But, you know, Plaskett, like I said, during February of 2019, Michael Cohen was taking the stand. This is, you know, amidst the Trump-Russia collusion, get Trump stuff. And, you know, she's texting Jeffrey Epstein while she's in this congressional hearing, trying to get help to elicit responses that are going to help the Democrat Party and the Get Trump movement in real time. Just incredible, incredible stuff. And listen to Jamie Raskin defend this. Now, remember, Donald Trump, they impeached him over a phone call with Vladimir Zelensky, right? So anyway, let's just play Jamie Raskin.
Well, they want to give them another headline, which is that they've arraigned a Democratic member for taking a phone call from her constituent, Jeffrey Epstein, in the middle of a hearing. And of course, I don't think there's any rule here against taking phone calls in a hearing.
Wow. So now it's okay. Now it's okay. Now let's listen to Plaskett herself on CNN being asked about her behavior.
I believe that Jeffrey Epstein had information, and I was going to get information to get at the truth. Having a friendship with him is not something that I would deem to have. And so I'm just looking forward. I'm moving forward. And I think that that's what we as American people should do, is move forward. If individuals are not involved in illegal activity, extending his criminal enterprise or his financial enterprise or all of those things, I think that we need to look at what people are doing moving forward.
Wait, let me just better understand that. What is that point? Because at the time he was a known sex offender and it had been detailed all the sexual abuse.
There are a lot of people who have done a lot of crimes, and as a prosecutor, you get information from people where you can.
Oh, okay, okay. So now if Democrats are texting with Jeffrey Epstein, if they're, seeking donations for their campaign, it's okay. It's okay. One standard. But Donald Trump, if he ever emailed with Epstein, he is guilty as sin. They get to call Donald Trump a pedophile. They get to call Trump a pedophile over that. Now, Jasmine Crockett, who I call Jasmine Crockett, I mean, honestly, thank God for Jasmine Crockett. Thank God that the Democrats continue to put her face out there, that they champion her, that they think that she could be the future of the Democrat Party. I mean this genuinely. Thank God for that. It's great to have stupid opponents. Now, Jasmine Crockett, let me just play this clip in her own words, but all you need to know about this is that Jasmine Crockett, she went and grandstanded in Congress, and she accused many Republicans, including Lee Zeldin, of having communicated with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, so and it turns out, though, that the Jeffrey Epstein that Zeldin was communicating with was someone else with the name Epstein, because Jeffrey Epstein is not the only Jeffrey Epstein in the world. Did you know this, folks? This is probably news for some Democrats out there, but my name is Drew Allen, and there are a lot of Drew Allens. You know that I'm not the only, I'm the only this Drew Allen, but I'm not the only Drew Allen in the world. Other people share your name. Did you know this? Billions of people, you're not the only one with your name. It's shocking information, but here I am, Millennial Minister of Truth, here to, inform. So anyway, so she accuses Zeldin of communication with Jeff Epstein, and it turns out it's a doctor, Dr. Epstein, a totally different person. Listen to this.
Stacey didn't initiate that chain. Jeffrey initiated that chain, and she took the information. Just like if somebody texts me.
Yeah, but she was responding and saying, what are you talking about? Quick, I'm up next. And then her questions were about Rona. But do you think that was inappropriate? I mean, would you text with someone who is a registered sex offender about what you should ask?
I honestly know that he had never been convicted of any federal crimes at that time.
But he had been in jail already.
He had been in jail. And my deal is this. The Republicans are constantly texting with a 34-count convicted felon. So if it's okay for them to text him at any point in time, then I'm not going to say that that's right or wrong, especially to the extent that you're talking about kicking someone off their committee. Were they sexting? Was it a matter of her being involved in the pedophilia?
Okay, guys. Okay, it was the wrong clip. I got the other one. I'll get it straight in a second there. But there you hear Jasmine Crockett, justifying what Plackett did. They weren't sexting. Oh, so now if they weren't sexting, it's not a problem. Well, I don't think that Jeffrey Epstein and Donald Trump were ever sexting. Let's see if I get the right clip here. Here's the Crockett clip. Same interview, different part of the interview.
You were defending her today, or in recent days, yesterday, and you talked about Republicans taking money from a Jeffrey Epstein. Here's what you said.
Who also took money from somebody named Jeffrey Epstein, as I had my team dig in very quickly. Mitt Romney, the NRCC, Lee Zeldin.
You mentioned Lee Zeldin there. He's now a cabinet secretary. He responded and said it was actually Dr. Jeffrey Epstein, who's a doctor that doesn't have any relation to the convicted sex trafficker. Unfortunate for that doctor, but that is who donated to a prior campaign of his. Do you want to correct the record on the people that
Listen, I never said that it was that Jeffrey Epstein. Just so that people understand, when you make a donation, your picture is not there. And because they decided to spring this on us in real time, I wanted the Republicans to think about what could potentially happen, because I knew that they didn't even try to go through the FEC. So my team.
This is just so sad and so pathetic and so illustrative of the Democrat Party and their philosophy of never apologizing for anything they do, feeling like they have a right to just make any mistake, make any false claim, and they never have to apologize. They're never held accountable. They never hold themselves accountable. But what an amazing, well, I never said it was the Jeffrey Epstein. So you stood up there in Congress and you lied on purpose? Is that what she's saying instead? Is that what Jasmine Crockett is admitting? Is that supposed to make you look better? This is so pathetic. This is like an elementary school person who gets in trouble with a teacher and they're scrambling to come up with some lie to cover up to get themselves out of trouble. She went up there and you heard her. Well, Jeffrey, and my team really hastily put this together. We were actually trying to make another point no, you weren't. You were trying to claim that Lee Zeldin and all these people, had sought money or whatever else from Epstein, and you got it completely wrong because you're an idiot. You and your team are stupid. You didn't do any due diligence. These are people that are in Congress. People in Congress doing this. This is how low IQ these people are. They are so ignorant and stupid, and they are tasked with making laws that affect you and me and my family's lives and our well-being and our livelihoods, and these people are elected to office. But don't worry, folks. Don't worry, because Charlemagne the God, he thinks she's great. Listen to this.
Jasmine Crockett is actually what the Democrats should be leaning into, like, because she is a phenomenal messenger. And some people just got it. Like, some people just have a different anointing on them. You don't know why certain people, cause folks to gravitate towards them. To me, it's more than Jasmine Crockett having that moment with Marjorie Taylor Greene when she was like bad bleach body or whatever it is. Like, if you watch her in these congressional meetings, like, she's always on message about something. I was watching her yesterday.
Oh my God. Jasmine Crockett's always on message about something. She's always on message. I don't know why people gravitate toward. She just got that it factor. Man, I don't know. I would love to help Charlemagne. Maybe I'll go on Charlemagne's show sometime, and he and I can have a friendly, civil chat about some of these things. Every now and then he kind of like Bill Maher. Every now and then he speaks sanely, has a rational thought, but then he immediately, the next day, the next breath, proves that he's just incapable, apparently, of enlightenment. I mean, what do you think, folks? Is Jasmine Crockett some articulate person who you gravitate towards? I mean, is she the future of the Democrat Party? Is that what she's showing us with her inability to even do basic research? If she's going to make an accusation that Lee Zeldin had some correspondence with Jeffrey Epstein? Man, oh man. We're going to continue with a little more Epstein stuff in just a minute. I want to get into Nick Fuentes as well and his vision for America. But first, every major financial collapse has been preceded by the same 7 warning signs before the Great Depression, before the 1970s stagflation, before the crash of 2008. Now all 7 are flashing red again for the first time in over 15 years. American Alternative Assets just released a free report called The Bellwether Signal. It breaks down each of these signals and shows how to protect your retirement before the next wave hits. In times of uncertainty, gold has always been the ultimate safe haven. It held strong in 2008. It surged during the inflation crisis of the 70s. And it remains one of the few assets not tied to political manipulation or central bank policy. Find out why central banks are buying it in record amounts and how you can too. Call 855-803-GOLD or visit cloutgold.com to get your free copy of the Bellwether Signal. That's 855-803-GOLD or cloutgold.com. Learn the signs, protect your savings, make your move while you still can. Now, folks, I got to ask, do you think it's a bridge too far to, assert that you're a sick person if you're calling for the military to refuse to obey the commander-in-chief? I mean, that to me is a perversion of thinking. I think many of these things are sick behaviors. Sick behaviors. Oh boy. I was gonna play, let's finish with Epstein. I thought that Jesse Waters did a great job the other night talking about this. I broke down the clip a little bit, but I just think that if you don't know anything about the updates with Epstein, I think this is a good summary, and this gives you key facts.
Remember, Epstein was a Democrat. He was a Democrat donor, and he hung out with Democrats and the liberal media at all of his homes. Larry Summers, who worked for both Clinton and Obama, was a pen pal with the pedo, even asking Epstein for dating advice. And now he's stepping down from his gig at Harvard. Oof. Bill Clinton was supposed to testify last month, but his lawyers are playing games. Careful, you can go to jail for ignoring a House subpoena. House Democrat Stacey Plaskett's also getting Epstein. She took thousands in donations from the predator, and he fed her questions during a congressional hearing. Hakeem's team sent an email to Epstein asking for money and inviting him to dinner, telling the pedophile that Hakeem was the Brooklyn Barack. Democrats and Epstein shared a lot of things, especially TDS.
I just got a little report, and I put it in my pocket, of all the money that he's given to Democrats. He gave me none, zero, no money to me, but he gave money to Democrats. And people are wise to your hoax.
There you go. I think that people finally understand what Trump meant by hoax. And I hope that people, you know, I don't know what people's expectations are in the end. I guess they want Bill Clinton and other powerful people to go to prison over this. You know, we all want accountability. And I think that's virtuous and you know, transparency is needed. Look, he mentioned something there too that I wanted to address, and that is Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton. So Bill Clinton in particular, but you know, the House is has issued or has planned to issue a subpoena for, you know, Bill and Hillary Clinton to appear and give testimony as it relates to Epstein. And why not? If you're going to do, and this is what I'm talking about. Okay, here we are. The Republicans who have done a very miserable job communicating about Epstein, they've let a lot of people down. Well, now, okay, they want to have these investigations into Epstein. And I think that if you're going to investigate Epstein and you want justice, then one of the first people that comes to mind that we can suspect, you know, in this world of, you know, I mean, the Democrats are already calling Trump a pedophile, even though he did no wrongdoing. But you have Bill Clinton, who there's far more evidence that perhaps he was involved in something nefarious as it related to Epstein, the times he visited the island, the visiting of the White House, Epstein to the Bill Clinton White House, and so on and so forth. And we also know Bill Clinton's history with women. And so they issue a subpoena or plan to issue a subpoena, and Bill Clinton and the Clintons and their lawyers are refusing to show up. And I just, you know, I'm really moved by one thing the Democrats have said for a long time. Nobody is above the law. I think the Democrats are absolutely right. Nobody is above the law. The Clintons especially are not above the law. And we already know there's precedent, right? The Democrats put Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon in prison because they defied a congressional subpoena, right? A demand to appear before Congress. And if Peter Navarro is going to go to jail for that, and if Steve Bannon is going to go to jail for defying a subpoena, well, if a subpoena is issued to the Clintons and they refuse to comply, then they must be prosecuted and they must go to prison. Bill Clinton's not a president anymore. He's a former president, and nobody's above the law. So, you know, if we want to stand by that, well, unfortunately, you know, your decisions have consequences. This is to you, Clintons. And so you're going to have to, unfortunately, go spend some time in prison because nobody's above the law. And, you know, I would remind you, though, on a serious note, Peter Navarro knew that that was going to be his fate, and he did it anyway. So, look, if the Clintons are so virtuous and righteous, then, you know, there are sacrifices that must be made for your beliefs sometimes. And the small sacrifice that must be paid by the Clintons is they must go spend time in jail. So that's great. So I do want to address one comment on here because I love the comments and participation. One, Manitalk, howdy, brother. He said aloha early on. And then Christine Kraft has just sent a message that says, it's to me. I'm just going to read it. Has this jackass, that'd be me, Drew, I'm the jackass. Has this jackass never bothered to read the Constitution just like Donnie? The oath is to it, not to the orange vulgarian. It would be an unlawful order to tell the military to shoot and kill Americans. Start there. Well, no one has told Americans to, has told the military to shoot Americans, Christine. What the Democrats are asking is for, because they believe like you do that Trump is illegitimate, that even those orders and requests that are constitutional must be defied simply because it's Donald Trump. And therefore, you are the one actually who doesn't understand the Constitution. And by the way, Christine, it was Democrats and your party who censored Republicans, and not even Republicans. Naomi Wolf, Dr. Wolf, was censored, and actually many people around the globe, not just in this country, but foreign governments, tried to ruin her life and destroy her reputation because she had the audacity to speak the truth about COVID and the poisonous jabs. So I'm not sure what your definition of the Constitution is, Christine, because the Democrats certainly do not abide by the Constitution at any point. Now, but thank you, Christine. I appreciate it. Respectful dialogue. You know, Charlie Kirk was all about that. I'm all about that. We will continue his legacy. You can call me names, call me jackass. I will somehow rise above and be respectful. It's not your fault that you're indoctrinated, probably. It's not your fault that you've been misled all your life. I'm here to help you find the truth. And that's what we all have to do as American citizens. There's many people hurting in this country, many people who are misinformed, who have hatred in their hearts, like Christine. And we've got to be willing to help them. It's a cry for help. So, Christine, we're here to help you, sister, American sister. All right, so let's get into Fuentes here for a minute. Nick Fuentes, he's a guy who loves Hitler, loves Stalin. He is he's a reprobate. I mean, absolutely. But there is a movement right now afoot, and it's very clever. It's very clever because MAGA, Make America Great Again, we have spoken often about putting America first. Now, MAGA is not an isolationist movement. MAGA is simply about doing what's in the best interest of the United States, and it's about putting Americans first, taking care of your family before you go and take care of someone else, right? I mean, that's your duty. You can understand it if you're a parent out there. I'm a father. I have 2 young girls. I'm married. If I'm taking my money, my income, and I'm going out there and spending it on someone else, and my own family is suffering, I'm feeding someone else, but not feeding my family first. That is obviously problematic. It's fundamentally anti-Christian as well. You've got to take care of your people and your family first. But what's happened in the MAGA movement is there have been a number of grifters who have ridden the coattails of MAGA for relevance because it was a winning ticket and it was good for them on a personal, professional level. But what we didn't know is that some of these individuals who are hitching their wagon to the MAGA train, they're not actually America first. They are anti-Israel first. They are anti-Semites, and they hate Israel. Now, I want to be clear about something. There is obviously an important distinction to be made between someone who simply has a policy disagreement as it relates to any kind of relationship we have with Israel, policy disagreement, whatever else. Obviously, criticism of Israel itself is not anti-Semitic. It becomes anti-Semitic, of course, when that individual has a personal hatred that exceeds rationality that targets Jews and Israel. And that is what we are seeing here, and it is exploding across this country. And you understand this because people who are anti-Semitic, who hate the Jews and hate Israel, have an irrational hatred for this. I mean, it's like Trump derangement syndrome. The same way Democrats and never Trumpers view and talk about Trump, it's not true. It's sick. There's something wrong with their soul. The same is true of that behavior with people who have Israel derangement syndrome. And that is where they make everything about Israel. Everything that happens, they have to demonize Israel, even when Israel had nothing to do with it, even when that action is not even reflective of the thing they claim. And so Fuentes is one of these people. He hates Jews and he hates Israel. And he is willing, that is his top priority. Now, we give roughly $3 billion a year to Israel. You can say, I don't want to do that anymore. You can make an argument if you want, if it's consistent, like, I don't want to give foreign aid to anybody. That's an argument you can be made. I think that obviously some foreign aid, you can't be a purist about everything. The world is very complex. It's 2025. Geopolitics is what it is. We need our enemies to be friendly at times. You're seeing that with Saudi Arabia and the deals there. So, you have to, apply some rational. I think we're still here. Can you guys hear me? Somebody comment on the thing there if you can still hear me. I'm not sure if we got cut off with the audio or not. I certainly want to make sure that that we do. Can you guys hear me? I think so. All right, look. So I guess let me know. I'm going to keep talking. My mouth is moving. So anyway, so Nick Fuentes is willing to burn MAGA to the ground. He's talking about America First, which America First isn't about America. It's prioritizing his hatred and animosity toward Jews and Israel over any love for America. But listen to Fuentes' vision for America.
GOP must be destroyed. If you had progressive Democrats and nationalist Republicans working together, the left has to give on immigration and the right has to give on the free market. If the right can come down on health care and on a social safety net and maybe on some subsidies for education, and if the left can come down on the anti-white open border stuff and they can agree that we have a country, that party will win 90% of the vote and rule for a century. That's the compromise. That's the populist compromise. That's the kind of program that we need. And that's what they're terrified of. They're terrified that the left and the right are going to come together on the basis of stop supporting Israel, on the basis of close the borders, on the basis.
So thank you, Matthew, who chimed in. He can hear me. I think you can see me. Let me know if you can see me. I can see myself. But so I want you to think about Nick Fuentes' logic, and thank God people like this are not running MAGA and are not speaking and making policy decisions for this nation. So Nick Fuentes hates Israel so much. He hates Jews so much that he believes that it's a sound decision in the future for the left and right, which, by the way, cannot coexist in their policies. The left wants domination. The left killed Charlie Kirk. The left wants open borders. So he thinks, okay, well, we will just give up on capitalism. They can have their DEI back. They can have, whatever they want effectively. All they have to do, all the left needs to do, I mean, the border is one issue, certainly. That's a huge issue in this country that the Democrat Party supports for political gain. So he wants the left and right to join forces. And in exchange, the left is simply going to say, okay, we'll close the border. We'll make some concessions on immigration, and you guys have to give up on capitalism. But it'll be good for the country because at the end of the day, we're going to go after the Jews and go after Israel. What a perverted worldview. You can make friends with the left. And by the way, this is how you get, gays for Palestine, right? Gays for Hamas. Like, wait a second. So you get killed in these Islamic countries and societies like Palestine. You can't be gay. You'll get killed for it. You'll get stoned to death. You'll get thrown off a building, but you've got gays supporting Palestine. How can that be possible? And this is a moment of education for everyone, because I know that is a question that people wonder. How is it possible that these certain victim classes within the Democrat Party, these different voter bases, how can they support somebody, gays for Palestine, even though Palestine is anti-gay? How can that happen? Because they have something else they hate more, and that is the West. That is America. That's our Constitution. So they prioritize what they hate. So this is no different for Nick Fuentes, who looks at this and says, you know what? I hate Israel so much that I'm willing to align with the left who does not agree on anything with the so-called right, whatever his view of the right is, even the actual right. But I'm willing to join forces with the left over the issue of Israel. this is how it happens. So America first, America only. It sounds good. It sounds like there's something there that we've talked about as far as MAGA, but it's really anti-Semitism and anti-Israel veiled in nationalism, veiled in patriotism. So that's Nick Fuentes, who apparently has a pretty big audience now. But anyway, I just wanted to cover that. MTG, she is dying to be Liz Cheney, apparently. Well, let me just give you a list of people. Let's do it this way. What do these people have in common? Liz Cheney, Mitt Romney, Jeff Flake. Who am I missing? There's a lot of them. Adam Kinzinger. I mean, it's a long list. But all these people turned on Trump. All these people sought the love and affection from CNN and Democrats. They sought a gig on CNN. They chose that over their country. They chose that over principle. And that's what Marjorie Taylor Greene's doing now. She's just dying to be irrelevant. All those people I named also are irrelevant right now. Nobody cares about Liz Cheney. She got destroyed in her primary, or, as soon as she came out against Trump. Adam Kinzinger's no longer in Congress. He couldn't win. And this is what's just shocking. It's not even in their best interest to do it. Now, they will tell you, I'm willing to, hurt myself because, I'm doing the right thing and I can't stand this. And that none of that's true. It's a garbage excuse. But what happened with Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? She wanted to be a senator. This is what I'm so sick of with the swamp. You stick around in Washington, D.C. long enough, and you become the thing that you ran against. Now, I cannot pretend to understand if Marjorie Taylor Greene was ever authentic. I just will assume, for the sake of argument, that she used to be authentic. But, imagine this. You run against career politicians, right? You run against the establishment, and then you turn around and become a career politician. Marjorie Taylor Greene is a career politician at this point, and she's power hungry. I mean, power is so intoxicating, folks. And that's what happens time and time again. So she's got her taste. And, any of you guys have house cats out there? Maybe you feed your house cat tuna, right? Delicious, soft, wet tuna. Your cat eats it up, loves it, treated so well. Well, what would happen if you suddenly started giving your cat kibble? That's what happened to Marjorie Taylor Greene. She got used to that diet of nice tuna. And now she's getting kibble. And she doesn't like it. She's upset. And so I've got Liana, who says MTG was never authentic. It's funny. So I'm a publicist. If you're just tuning in, you don't know that. I've been a publicist for a lot of people. I was actually a publicist for Marjorie Taylor Greene as well at one point. And it's funny. I went and spoke at a women's Republican group. This is like a couple of years ago. I do this fairly often. I go and speak to these groups. And I spoke at a women's Republican group. And when they introduced me, Drew Allen, he's the, VP at Publius PR, and his clients include Tulsi Gabbard, Dinesh D'Souza, Dr. Ben Carson, Dr. Naomi Wolf, all these different people. And they mentioned Marjorie Taylor Greene on there as well. And one of my friends who was there, one of the women, she told me after, said, people were upset that they were upset that you did PR for Marjorie Taylor Greene. And I didn't, it was the first time I really got like a sense of how people felt about Marjorie Taylor Greene. This is a couple of years ago. People didn't like her then. So anyhow, she's so arrogant. She thinks that people are going to choose her over Trump. That's never going to happen. But she wanted to be a senator, right? So this is the progression generally, right? You serve in the House, And that's a jumping point to the Senate and then maybe governor and things like that, maybe president and vice president one day. That's kind of how a lot of these politicians that are traditional try to do it. And so, the House, you're running for re-election every 2 years. It's a 2-year job. Senate, 6 years. It's far more lucrative. There's fewer senators, obviously. There's just 2 each state as opposed to House members. And she wanted to run for Senate. And privately, Donald Trump told her that she was going to lose. Currently, the senator there, one of them is John Ossoff, Democrat, pajama boy. And, the governor, Brian Kemp, decided he's not going to run for that Senate seat when he's done with his term here. And so she put her hat in the ring. She wanted to be a senator. And she felt like, wow, I was always a supporter of Trump and blah, blah, blah. And in her view, in her arrogance, she believed that she was betrayed by Trump because he told her the truth. I'm not going to back a Senate candidate. And I don't know if he said this, but I'm just giving you the gist of what happened. He sent her a poll, apparently, from his people. It was accurate that said, you're down like 40 points, 30 points, whatever it was. Like, you're not going to win a statewide race in Georgia. You're not going to be a senator. It's just not going to happen. It's not realistic, Marjorie. And that made her mad. And so now she's on a revenge tour to get Trump, to become Liz Cheney. And, that's the thing with a few of these people. They hate Trump too. They're jealous. They're mad. They think that they're owed something. And now she's broken. But listen to her talk about the Epstein stuff.
I was called a traitor by a man that I fought for 6 years for. And I gave him my loyalty for free. I won my first election without his endorsement, beating 8 men in a primary. And I've never owed him anything, but I fought for him for the policies and for America first. And he called me a traitor for standing with these women and refusing to take my name off the discharge.
No, Marjorie. That's not what happened. You went on The View and pretended that Republicans and Democrats are the same. You went on The View and attacked your own party. You went on TV with the left, who's been attacking you ever since you've been in office, calling you all sorts of terrible names, making fun of you, calling you a conspiracy theorist, QAnon stuff. And many of it was true, Marjorie. And you went to those people who hate you because you're hurt by Trump, you feel betrayed by Trump, and you attacked Trump. You went and groveled before the feet of the left that hates you and apologized without being asked to do so. You went seeking the approval of your enemy when all of us, despite your shortcomings, despite your odd beliefs, we have supported you. I have supported you even amidst all of it. You were not an easy person to support all the time because you say, sometimes you're like the Jasmine Crockett of the Republican Party. But, we understand that the enemy we're up against, the left in this country, the same left that shot and murdered Charlie Kirk, the same left that created the environment of dehumanization that leads to assassinations and attempted assassinations of Republicans, MAGA, conservatives. You went to those people who are on a killing spree and you attacked us. You attacked MAGA. You attacked Trump. And that's not to say that she doesn't have good stances. That's not to say that at all. But it is to point out that she doesn't understand or care about the gravity of the situation in America today. You have to prioritize things. And just because you got your feelings hurt, suddenly you're out there auditioning for a job on CNN. That's not putting America first. We have all these issues on the table. And again, I want to be clear about something. I'm sorry if this makes you mad, but this is true. Nobody voted for Trump because of the Epstein files. That may have been a bonus. That may have been something you cheered, and that would be fine. But nobody voted for Trump because of the Epstein files. People voted for Trump because of the horrendous Biden years. They voted to secure the border. They voted over the transgender issue. They voted for women's rights to protect women from having to see men's penises in their locker rooms at school, to protect women from having to compete against biological men in college athletics. They voted against DEI. They voted against everything that this Biden administration destroyed. They voted on the economy. They voted on inflation. Those were the issues that drove it. The border and the economy. Those were the main ones. Epstein wasn't even on the list for people. So to pretend now like everything's about Epstein, that the Epstein stuff is the greatest betrayal ever, that's not true. Now, I get that it feels like that for people, and you're totally right to feel that way if you want. But that's not why people went to the polls. And now she's playing the victim. She's acting like a Democrat. Acting like a Democrat. And this is the loser mentality that got this country in trouble in the first place. The losing mentality of John McCain, rest in peace. The losing mentality of Mitt Romney. You know, and now you've got people willing to throw it away. Try and throw it away to go back into this, you know, corruption stuff. Now, I just want to end with a story here. It's personal to me. It happened here in California, where I live, because I do want people to understand how much I despise these career politicians and how much I do recognize and how much I do relate to all of you about the deep state, about corruption in both parties. You know, there is much reason to be upset out there, but be careful who you listen to and who leads you astray because of those emotions. Those emotions are true. The things we complain about are true, but the person who's going to solve it for us is not necessarily your savior. But we just had the Prop 50 stuff out here, right? In California, where Gavin Newsom and Democrats took it to a vote to eradicate norms and gerrymander the heck out of the California electoral map so that Republicans would effectively have no representation, because they're trying to plan to sabotage the Trump administration, and they're desperate for votes in the House. So they decided the best way to do that was to go against the process that's typical, the same process that they accused Texas of some kind of, Texas gerrymandered. Everyone gerrymanders. It was in alignment with the census. It had to be done. It's always done that way. California did something very different. And, you know, it was always going to be a difficult battle to get Prop 50 defeated because, you know, it's a Democrat state, and the Democrats out here poured, you know, millions and millions of dollars into this Prop 50 initiative. And Kevin McCarthy and his pets, like Patterson, well, they took control of the effort in California to fundraise and lead the effort to oppose the vote on Prop 50 in California. And they basically just took the money from the donors and pocketed it and didn't even make anything close to a sincere or dignified effort to actually prevent Prop 50 from passing. You know, McCarthy was out there telling us, and this is what I'm talking about, McCarthy's former Speaker of the House, California guy, California representative. He's out of office now. What is he doing? What are these people doing? What is Marjorie Taylor Greene going to do when she's out of office? Listen to what they do. So McCarthy's out here saying, he was going to raise $100 million to fight Prop 50. And a month after he said that, he'd raised like $7 million. Nothing. And for perspective, when we did the Newsom recall in 2021, we raised, $45.3 million. So he was only able to get $7 million after saying he was going to get $100 million. But you had a guy come in, Charles Munger Jr., big time philanthropist, and he invested something close to $30 million in all of this. Now, the money, though, was just wasted. So Swing Strategies was one of these groups who received $31 million from a group called Protect Voters First. And they have a direct mailing system, right? Because this is part of the strategy. We're going to get all these mailers out. All this money is going to be spent making sure that people get these postcards in their mailboxes that explain to them why they should oppose Prop 50. And so, swing strategies, they said they had this award-winning, direct mail program. Now, this group, Protect Voters First, get this, who gave them the money. I mean, they have a Facebook page that has 17 followers, or had 17 followers, when I looked not too long ago. 17 people. They posted 10 times. And not one single post got more than like 3 likes. There was no digital effort here to do anything. Did they not think about spending some of that $31 million to run a social media campaign? I mean, what century do these people think it is in California? And this is why I'm frustrated. I live in California. I know that we're a minority. I still live here. I want to fight for what's right. But the people that are tasked with leading that effort in California to protect it from further demise from Newsom and whoever the next Democrat's going to be, they don't care. They're a bunch of crooks, in my opinion. So where did all this money go? The $31 million or whatever it was. Now, the Democrats, by the way, they raised $171.6 million towards supporting Prop 50. So we're looking at $31 million or whatever it is roughly that Republicans got, frankly, thanks to one donor. But these people paid themselves hundreds of thousands of dollars. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. And I want to explain who Patterson is here too. Who Patterson is in California, who leads the GOP. So, Patterson in 2008 was the victory director in Nevada for the John McCain presidential campaign. Gee, what happened there? Not a winning record. Then Patterson worked as the statewide field director in California for a Meg Whitman gubernatorial campaign, which no one can even remember who Meg Whitman is. And then, Patterson's continued to work and fail, and got more and more involved in the California GOP. And somehow, with this unbelievable record of failure, Patterson was seen as the best candidate for the California chairwoman of the GOP to lead the GOP in California. I mean, this is just unbelievable, right? I mean, only in politics do you see people fail upwards like this, right? Am I right? And so, this was in 2019, and Republicans, of course, love to play the Democrat card. Oh, yeah, Patterson, the first Latina and first millennial to lead the party. This is going to help reverse what's going on here in California. We've got a first Latina millennial leading the GOP who's never succeeded in any campaign or anything she's done ever. So here's just some facts for you. So under Patterson, her leadership as California GOP chairwoman, the 2021 special election to recall Newsom, it failed by more than 20 percentage points, even though she said, oh, it's going to succeed, just give us more money. And then we have now the Prop 50 failure, which is just epic. Epic. And, the Prop 50 passed with like over 60% support. Over 60% support. And listen to Patterson's statement after the shellacking. While tonight's results are disappointing, we left everything on the field fighting to stop Gavin Newsom and Sacramento politicians' partisan power grab. That's what Patterson posted on X. Though this isn't the outcome we hoped for, we're proud to have stood for fair maps and honest representation for all Californians. So, SoCal Daily Pulse was told by an anonymous source that Patterson had collected $250,000 herself, with another $250,000 that was on the way. So she got nearly $500,000 for leading this failure. It's just amazing. Other people, Brian Watkins, I found at Irvine-based Inversion Strategies. He was tasked with this coalition outreach, received $150,000 for his work. I mean, it's just amazing. These people just They filled their pockets with this and they fail. And something has to change in the GOP. And look, it's going to be other people I'm talking to out there in California that are young or not that have to get involved. Like, we can't tolerate this anymore. I feel like what happened in California is so many people accept that we're going to just lose in perpetuity here in California because it is a depressing scenario that we don't even pay attention to what's happening. So you've got all these crooks that are running the GOP here, and we're never going to make a dent. We're never going to start to move the needle forward in saving California and undoing the damage done by Democrats for so long in this state if we continue to sit here and let people like this lead the GOP effort. You know? So anyway, I just want to let you know that I'm frustrated. That's happening here in California. I just wanted to make your name known and make sure that people out there understand that we're on to you and we know what you're doing. You're enriching yourself and doing nothing that you're asked to do. The California GOP is a complete disaster, and we need to fix that. All right, that's all we have time for today, folks. I love you all genuinely, especially the haters. I love you the most. This is Drew Allen, your Millennial Minister of Truth. Until next time, folks.
We're about news, commentary, conversations, truth, liberty, and God. We stand for American values and our flag. We believe that the Constitution is a document that fortifies rights already given to us by our Creator. We will not apologize for our love of God and country, ever. We are Right America Media.